If you think saving $60 on a set of tires is a smart move, you need to hear this before your next purchase. Last winter, a driver brought an SUV into my shop with a story I have heard too many times. She had bought 4 budget tires online from a brand she had never heard of. The price was almost too good to ignore, nearly half of what the name brand equivalents would have cost. Less than 8 months later, she hit standing water on the highway at 65 miles per hour. The car snapped sideways before she even had time to react. She managed to keep it out of the guardrail, but barely. When I inspected the tires afterward, the tread had worn down unevenly across all 4. The sidewalls had already started micro-cracking from UV exposure. And the worst part? The tires were less than a year old and had only around 18,000 miles on them. The brand she bought is on this list. And the terrifying truth is that these tires get sold every single day on Amazon, at discount tire shops, and even at some warehouse clubs to drivers who have no idea what they are buying. By the end of this video, you will know exactly which 3 tire brands to avoid at all costs, what makes them dangerous at a mechanical level, and what the sale price is really hiding. Before we continue, subscribe to AutoJ World. This channel is built around real mechanical knowledge, real safety information, and real answers that protect your family on the road. The money you save on tires today is not worth what you could lose tomorrow. Now let's expose the 3 brands that should never end up under your vehicle. Brand number 1, Westlake. Westlake tires show up everywhere: Amazon, Walmart, online tire aggregators that rank results by price with the cheapest at the top. And that is exactly where the danger begins, at the top of the bargain bin. Westlake is manufactured by ZC Rubber Group, a large Chinese conglomerate that also produces tires under the Goodride and Chaoyang names. Understanding that structure matters because it tells you something about the manufacturing philosophy behind the product. These brands are designed for the budget international market, not for the performance expectations of American roads, American highways, and American weather systems that swing from ice to triple-digit heat. Here is what actually happens inside a Westlake tire that makes it dangerous, and it is not obvious from the outside. Premium tire manufacturers like Michelin, Continental, and Bridgestone use silica-enhanced rubber compounds in their tread formulas. Silica keeps the rubber pliable across a wide temperature range, flexible enough to grip in cold weather, and stable enough to resist heat degradation in summer. It is expensive to develop and expensive to produce. Westlake cuts costs by reducing natural rubber content and using a harder, more rigid compound. That compound behaves acceptably at low speeds and moderate temperatures. But push it into the conditions American drivers actually encounter every day: sustained highway cruising, summer pavement, emergency braking on wet roads, and the performance collapses in ways you will not expect until it is too late. Multiple consumer reports and automotive forums document a consistent pattern with Westlake tires: rapid tread wear that kicks in after the first 5,000 to 10,000 miles, dramatically increased road noise as the tread surface begins to degrade, and a near total loss of confident feel at highway speeds when cornering. Drivers describe the sensation as disconnected, as if the car is floating over the road rather than gripping it. That sensation is not just uncomfortable, it is a warning sign that the contact patch has been compromised by a tread compound that is hardening and losing elasticity long before the mileage warranty should allow. The wet weather performance is where Westlake becomes genuinely dangerous. Good tire tread is engineered with channels, grooves, and microsipes that actively evacuate water from underneath the tire. The design is sophisticated, and the rubber compound must be flexible enough to conform to the road surface even when a film of water is present. Westlake's harder compound cannot do that. The tires sit on top of the water rather than channeling it away. The result is hydroplaning at speeds where other tires would still be firmly planted. And hydroplaning does not announce itself with a warning light or a vibration. One moment you have control, the next moment you do not. That is what happened to the driver I mentioned at the beginning of this video. There is one more thing about Westlake that most people never discover until it is too late: the internal belt structure. Premium tires use reinforced steel belt systems that resist movement between layers under load and heat. Independent testing has found that Westlake tires allow excessive belt movement, which creates uneven wear patterns that accelerate dramatically over time. The tire that looked acceptable at 10,000 miles can look dangerously worn at 20,000. And because the wear is often uneven, heavier on one shoulder than the other, drivers do not notice how bad it has gotten until a mechanic puts the car on a lift and shows them the damage. When a driver on Reddit described buying Westlake tires and suffering a blowout, they posted afterward that everything they read online said those tires were a ticking time bomb. The comments were full of mechanics and experienced drivers saying the same thing. They knew. The driver did not. Do not be that driver. Brand number 2, Chaoyang. Chaoyang is another product of the Hangzhou Zhongche Rubber Company out of China, one of the largest tire manufacturers in the world by volume. Large volume does not mean high quality. In the case of Chaoyang, volume and quality move in opposite directions. To understand why Chaoyang tires fail the way they do, you have to understand what a tire sidewall is actually supposed to do. The sidewall is not just cosmetic rubber between the tread and the wheel. It is a structural component that flexes with every single rotation to absorb road shocks, maintain the contact patch shape, and protect the internal belt structure from damage. It is engineered to flex tens of millions of times over the life of the tire without cracking, delaminating, or failing. That engineering requires specific rubber compounds, internal fabric plies, and reinforcement layers that are expensive to produce correctly. Chaoyang cuts that cost. The sidewall rubber compound they use is inferior, lower quality, less flexible, and far more susceptible to UV degradation and heat cycling. What this means in practice is that Chaoyang tires begin to develop micro cracks in the sidewall far earlier than any premium or even mid-range tire. These cracks are not always visible to the naked eye at first. They start small, deep inside the rubber structure. As the tire continues to heat and cool through normal driving cycles, those micro cracks grow. By the time you can actually see them from the outside, the structural integrity of the sidewall is already compromised. And a sidewall failure at highway speed is not a slow flat. It is a sudden, violent blowout. Multiple owners across automotive forums report the same pattern. Chaoyang tires developed visible sidewall cracks within 12 months of purchase under completely normal driving conditions. Some owners reported cracking even on tires that had barely been driven, stored in garages away from direct sunlight. That tells you everything about the quality of the rubber compound. It is aging faster than it should because the fundamental chemistry is wrong. But the sidewall issue is not even the only problem. Chaoyang tires also show severe tread wear inconsistencies. The tread compound wears unevenly across the width of the tire, creating irregular contact patches that get progressively worse as mileage accumulates. Some drivers report needing replacement after just 15 to 20,000 miles, less than half the expected lifespan of even a basic economy tire from a reputable manufacturer. When you do that math, the cheap purchase price evaporates completely. You are paying full price again in less than 2 years, then again, then again. The total cost of ownership for Chaoyang tires is not cheaper than buying quality tires. It is dramatically more expensive, and that does not factor in the cost of an accident caused by a sudden sidewall failure or a loss of traction in rain. There is also the issue of heat management. Tires generate heat through friction with the road and through the internal flexing of the sidewall and tread structure. That heat has to dissipate properly, or it builds up inside the tire and begins to break down the rubber compounds and the adhesive layers between internal belts. Quality tire manufacturers engineer heat dissipation into their tire design, and the tread compound, the belt structure, and even the sidewall thickness are all calibrated to manage heat under sustained driving conditions. Chaoyang does not invest in that engineering. Reviews consistently note that Chaoyang tires are particularly prone to failure in extreme heat and during sustained highway driving, precisely the conditions where heat buildup is most severe. Multiple reports specifically describe burst tires in summer heat at highway speeds, in exactly the kind of conditions that American drivers in the South and Southwest encounter every summer. Chaoyang does not even publish detailed information about their construction materials or design standards. When you cannot find out what is inside the tire, that tells you something about the manufacturer's confidence in what they built. Brand number 3, Accelera. Accelera operates differently from the two Chinese manufacturers already covered, and that difference makes it arguably the most deceptive entry on this list. Accelera is based in Indonesia and has been manufacturing tires since 1996. Unlike Westlake and Chaoyang, Accelera actually invests in marketing. Their tires feature aggressive-looking tread patterns, sporty sidewall designs, and branding that mimics the visual language of high-performance rubber. They even offer a limited warranty in some markets. On the shelf or in a product listing, an Accelera tire looks like a legitimate performance option at a budget price. That is the trap. Here is what the cosmetics are hiding. The rubber compound used in Accelera tires is consistently reported as producing feeble grip in wet conditions, not slightly below premium, genuinely feeble. Reviews from verified owners across multiple platforms describe wet braking distances that are among the longest they have ever encountered on any tire. One reviewer with a Kia Sportage noted that both front tires wore below the legal limit within 3 to 4 months of moderate driving. Another described the tires as total junk at best and dangerous at worst. These are not isolated complaints from aggressive drivers pushing their cars hard. These are commuters and everyday drivers experiencing catastrophic failure under normal conditions. The wet performance problem comes down to the specific polymer blend Accelera uses in their tread compound. High-quality wet weather tires use compounds that maintain chemical bonding with wet road surfaces. The rubber molecules literally grip the aggregate in the pavement even through a film of water. Accelera's compound does not achieve that bonding. It slides over wet surfaces rather than gripping them, and that characteristic gets dramatically worse as the tire wears. During the first 10,000 kilometers, some owners describe the performance as acceptable, not great, but manageable. After that point, the tread compound begins to degrade in a way that accelerates the wet grip problem. The tire becomes progressively less safe as it ages, which is the opposite of how well-engineered tires behave. What makes Accelera particularly deceptive is the warranty situation. Accelera advertises a 30,000-mile treadwear warranty on some models. That number is why many buyers feel comfortable making the purchase. A 30,000-mile warranty sounds like a guarantee of value, but multiple owners have documented tires going bald at 9,000 miles and then discovering that Accelera refuses to honor the warranty. The warranty exists as a marketing tool, not as a genuine commitment to product performance. When you try to use it, the process is designed to make you give up. Some owners describe being told the wear was caused by improper inflation or alignment, regardless of what the evidence showed. Others simply never got a response. The warranty is a number on a web page. It is not protection. There is also the construction quality issue. Accelera tires use internal construction shortcuts that show up in real-world performance. Some owners describe losing traction at speeds above 60 miles per hour, reporting that the tire loses stability in a way that feels dangerous during lane changes or when encountering crosswinds at highway speed. This is a signature of inadequate internal belt structure. When the belts are not properly anchored and reinforced, the tire distorts slightly at high speed, changing the shape of the contact patch and reducing grip in exactly the moments when you need it most. High-speed stability is not a luxury feature. It is a basic safety requirement. Accelera consistently fails it. What all three brands share. Westlake, Chaoyang, and Accelera were chosen for this video because they represent three different ways that budget tires reach American consumers and three different ways they fail. But they share the same root cause. They prioritize manufacturing cost over safety engineering, and they sell on price to buyers who do not know what the price is hiding. Here is what separates dangerous budget tires from the rest of the market at a technical level. Premium and mid-range tires from reputable manufacturers go through independent testing before they reach consumers. Tire Rack, Consumer Reports, DEKRA, and other testing organizations subject tires to wet braking tests, high-speed stability evaluations, treadwear analysis, and handling assessments under standardized conditions. Results are published. Manufacturers are held accountable. Their products either pass or they do not. Brands that fail get called out publicly. None of the three brands on this list has a meaningful track record of passing independent wet braking tests against comparable tires. The reason is simple. When you buy a tire from Michelin, Continental, Bridgestone, or even reliable mid-range brands like Cooper, Hankook, or Kumho, you are buying the result of millions of dollars in research and development, rigorous manufacturing quality control, and a brand reputation that the company has every financial incentive to protect. When you buy a Westlake, a Chaoyang, or an Accelera, you are buying a product where those incentives are absent. The sale price that draws you in is not a coincidence. It is the direct financial result of skipping the engineering investment, cutting material quality, and avoiding the independent testing that might expose the product for what it is. You are not getting a deal. You are absorbing the cost that the manufacturer refused to pay in premature tire replacement, potentially in vehicle damage from uneven wear or sudden failure, and in the worst cases, in the kind of emergency that no amount of money can undo. What you should do instead. If your budget is tight, mid-range tires from brands with established safety records are significantly better than any of the three brands covered in this video. Kumho, Nexen, Falcon from Sumitomo, and General Tire from Continental all produce tires in the affordable price range with legitimate independent test results and real manufacturer accountability. You will pay more upfront than for a Westlake, but you will spend far less than replacing Westlakes in 8 months, and you will do it without putting yourself and your family in a car with compromised wet weather performance and sidewalls that are aging faster than the calendar says they should be. Check independent sources before you buy. Tire Rack publishes test data. Consumer Reports tests tires regularly. If a brand does not appear in any independent testing and the only information you can find is the manufacturer's own marketing material, treat that as a warning sign, not a reassurance. The next time you see a set of tires at a price that seems too good to be true, remember the driver who hit that standing water at 65 miles per hour. She kept the car on the road. Many drivers in the same situation do not. The $60 she saved is not the number that matters. The number that matters is the distance her car traveled while the tires were doing nothing at all. If this video helped protect you or someone in your family, Subscribe now. The next video exposes another automotive purchase that millions of drivers make on price alone, without understanding what the discount is really costing them until it is far too late.